Once your test is built and you're ready to give it to your students, then you have to deploy it into a content area where the students can access it. So I'm going to click on the Assessments link of the course menu. I have three folders here: Assessments, Quizzes and Tests, and Surveys. So I'm going to open up the folder that says Quizzes and Tests, and in this folder I'm going to deploy the rock and roll music test. So I click on Create Assessment and point to and click on Test. There are the two options, the Famous People test and the Rock and Roll Music test. So I'll select that and say Submit. Now here are the setup options for this test, so we'll go down through these. You can give it a description if you like. Not necessary that you put anything in this box, but you can put a slight description for it if you want to. You can choose to open this test in a new window, which would be a good idea, especially if the test has a lot of fine details in it, like small charts or highly detailed images that the students need to view in a larger area. If you open it in a new window, then the students could maximize that test to the full viewing screen of their computer. Otherwise, just leave it on the default answer of no, in which case the test will open in the reading pane within the Blackboard course. You can choose to make the link automatically available so that as soon as you click Submit, the students will be able to access this test. I'm going to leave it on no right now for demonstration purposes. For example, if I'm not quite ready for the students to see this. I might do that in the event that I'm getting this test all ready to go for the students and I'm going to give it to them tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Well, I'm going to leave the test turned off until 5 minutes before class tomorrow, at which point I'll go into my computer, turn that on, and then walk into the classroom and say, okay everybody, your test is now ready on Blackboard. But in the event for distance students, you could choose to make it available and automatically send out an announcement to your students telling them that the test is available for them. For now I'm going to leave both of those on no. You could choose here to give the students multiple attempts at this test, unlimited attempts, or for example you could choose to give them 2 opportunities to write the same test. And if they do take both opportunities, their highest score, I believe, will go into the grade center. I think there are options where you can set up whether it's the highest score or the most recent attempt score or whatever, but I'm going to leave that off for now. You can also force completion, which means that once the student starts the test, they have to finish it and submit it all in one setting. If you leave that off, the students do have the option of saving their test and exiting and then going back later and completing it at another time. You can also set the timer so that, let's say for example, I wanted to give 30 minutes for this test. I would say 0 hours and 30 minutes, and now the students have 30 minutes. If the timer is turned on, you have the option of using auto submit. If that is on, as soon as the 30 minutes runs out, the student's test will automatically save and submit. Even if they're not done the test, it'll do that automatically. So I'm not going to do that for this demo. Here in these 2 windows you have the option of setting the release dates for the test. Today's the 29th. I could have that to come on automatically tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning, and it would automatically shut off tomorrow morning at 9:30, for example, in the morning. So there's a 1-hour window in which the students would be able to see this test in their Blackboard course. Even if they were from a distance, it would only show up for the 1 hour between 8:30 and 9:30. I'm going to leave that off. You also have the option of giving them a password. For example, Floyd, and they could not access the test until you first gave them that password. I'll turn that off as well for demo purposes. You could put a due date saying that this test is due tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Anybody who tries to submit the test after that will be automatically marked as a late submission, and the computer will tell you whether their student's submission is late or not. You could choose to penalize them for being late if you wish. And by default, this box will be checked, which will include this test in the grade center, and it will automatically create a column in the grade center called Rock and Roll Music Test. And when the students submit their tests, the computer will automatically mark those questions that it can. The only questions that the computer cannot mark are the essay type questions. You would have to go into the grade center, open up the student's attempt, and mark that particular question manually, put a mark in their test on that attempt, and then when you submit that, it will automatically update their test score in the grade center to include the new score that you just gave them on their essay question. Okay. So most people would tend to leave that box, but you could choose to hide it completely from the instructor and the grade center so that only the student would see their results. Most people leave that on the first box. And you can choose to give this variety of feedback to your students. As soon as they submit their tests, if this box is checked, they will be able to see their score immediately, what they got on the test. You could also choose to show them the answers that they submitted for all of the questions. You could also choose to give them the correct answers, especially for any of those questions they got wrong. They might like to know what the correct answer was. And you can choose to give them the feedback that you have built right into your test questions, the correct feedback and the incorrect feedback. Now for students that are, all four of those would work okay if your students were all together in one room and you were supervising the entire test. But for students who are at a distance, you might want to leave at least those last two unchecked, because you don't want your students getting the correct answers and then calling up their buddy and saying, oh, by the way, here's the answer to question such and such and such. Okay, so consider that. Depends on where your students are and how you're monitoring them, what type of feedback you want to actually give them. And finally, you can choose to give the students all the questions at once, so they would see all the questions and they could choose which questions they want to answer. Or you could choose to give them only one question at a time, and you can also prohibit backtracking, so they cannot go back and change an answer once they've submitted it. And you can also randomize the questions so different students are getting different order of the questions. Once you've got that all set up, with the settings just the way that you want it, then you click Submit, and once you do, you will see your test appear on the content area. However, it is at the moment unavailable to the students because I left that turned off. Once you're ready for the students to have this test, it's simply a matter of clicking the chevron beside the test, and you want to click Edit the Test Options, not edit the test, because if you click edit the test, you're going to open the questions, which would give you the opportunity to go in and make changes to any of the questions. In this case, I simply want to edit the test options, so I click that one, and then I scroll down to where it says make this link available to the students, yes, and submit. And now from this moment on, the students can see this test in their Blackboard course. And that's how you deploy a test in a content area. Thank you.